How you doing? This is the guy from Pittsburgh. And it's day 7 or 8 of what I would call Artline. Pahrump held hostage. Yes, there's no joy in Belleville. There's no joy in Belgab. There's no joy in America. There's no joy east, north, or south, or west of the Rockies. There's no joy in Canada with tasty Canadians. There's no joy in Australia with the guy that drove Art Bell off the air because he kept bugging him every 5 seconds of the phone call. We're just kidding, Jasmundo. From Belgab. Hi, guys. But Art Bell left his show a week ago today, and tonight there's the worst thing a broadcaster could have. Dead air. Art, we love you. We love to listen to you. That's why a lot of us are so mad about the way you handled this. You blew it, Pally. You went in, feet first. You didn't look where you were landing. And you thought that because you act in an ethical manner, Sirius was going to act that way too. You asked them for a lot of stuff. They gave you a lot of stuff. But you thought they'd let you stream your content for free. They're not about to do that. They're there to make money. And then you got into a non-compete clause. I wouldn't have done that. You just got out of one with Premiere. So you climb out of the coffin like you're Houdini, and you go over to the other coffin, you open the lid, and you climb into the coffin, and they nail the lid shut. And now you're in another non-compete clause. And if something goes wrong, you're stuck. And you're stuck for another 2 years. We got no Art Bell. You're in Pahrump doing your ham radio. I'm surprised they didn't make you take your antenna down. You got a $3 million studio you can't broadcast from. You had no phone call, no way to anybody to call you in Canada until they fixed that. Guy calls you on Skype from Australia. Guys are using cell phones all the time. I don't have a landline. I have a Snoopy phone in the bedroom. There's my cell phone. Very few people in this country use landlines anymore. They're using cell phones. Oh God, there goes my photo. I can't see what the hell I'm doing. Okay. And you got to realize that cell phones may sound crappy to you, but that's what people are using. They're using Android, they're using Apple, they're using God knows what else. They're using wristwatch phones like they're Dick Tracy. But they're not chained to a wired phone in their house. You're out and about. They're not chained to it in the car. In the car, you're going to use the cell phone. Some phones have the phone built into the dashboard, but it's still a cell phone. It's not like Mannix where he had a brick this big to make a phone call before they cut his brake lines every episode. That's 40 years ago. We're in the 21st century, Art, and if cell phones sound crappy, you just got to deal with it as best you can. But I'm getting off the point. The point is, Art, you signed a contract with Sirius. You didn't look both ways like you're crossing the street. You didn't look at what you were getting into. Sirius has a model where the stream drops out. And while there are many on Belgab and elsewhere that said, I had no problem getting the show, there are hundreds of thousands of people who sent emails to Art, who called Sirius and said, I'm tired of the dropping out. And you know what? I was one of them. I had Art Bell's program drop out. I had Seriously Sinatra's program drop out. That horrible TMZ didn't drop out. The horrible Pete Dominic didn't drop out. There's about 6 or 7 or 8 different error messages. Please click on this. We're unable to provide service right now. Come back later. Like the guy puts a sign in his door when he's going to lunch. Come back later. Later can be 2 hours later. You still can't get in there. And logging on, you had to log on. Then it would make you log on a second time. Then it would go to the screen. Everything would turn white like a ghost. and then the screen would freeze up. I had that from the time I signed up, almost constantly. No matter how many times I called, it still happened. Plus, I had to change my account password because it wasn't recognizing it after a while. And if I was having this problem, then other people are having it too. Now, maybe they weren't having it in their cars. Maybe they weren't having it, they bought a Sirius radio. But they're having it over the computer. And that's another thing. People paid to listen to you. People paid because they heard all this stuff about Art Bell coming back. They were excited. They wanted to hear you. And when they sign up for a service, they don't want any content interruptions. They want what they're paying for. Now, that isn't your fault, Art. That's Sirius's fault. They should have known with the listenership that Art Bell had when he was on radio 3 years ago, that they were going to get absolutely overwhelmed and swamped with listeners. And I don't know what they're using. Somebody on Bell Gab put a tin can radio to listen to Art through a tin can to string, and that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Because Art wanted to stream stuff out of his servers for free on his channel. But I begin to think that's what Sirius is using, from the satellite to Washington, D.C. and out to your radio or your ears, is a big tin can with a big string, because of how much the service dropped all the time. And then when you called up to complain about it or say, I'm canceling because it ain't working, or I'm canceling because Art's off the air, and then they beg you, please stay on, we got more programming content. Well, I hate to tell you this, Sirius. I listened to the conservative channel. I listened to the NRA guy. Seriously, Sinatra, that didn't work. You had problems of the songs repeating themselves over and over, the lyrics reversing and repeating the same lyric over and over again. Shall we dance, shall we dance, shall we dance, night and day, night and day, night and day. I love Sinatra, but not over and over. Or it would lock up. Or it would say, channel not available right now, come back later. That happened constantly. And it happened on Art's show too. Sirius should have gotten their act together for Art, and they couldn't. Art went to them and said, fix this, please. Oh, we're working on it. Well, when he left a week later, they were still working on it. They might be working on it in the 23rd century, I don't know, or the 22nd. But Art ain't going to be there. And then they moved that Opie and Anthony guys to afternoons. They're ticked off, but they've been complaining from what I heard on Bell Gab for years that their content isn't going right either. They let go a poor guy who was connected with Clear Channel. The guy's got cancer. They dumped him. They dumped all of Nori's shows. They dumped everything off of Premiere. I don't know if they didn't want to compete with Art or what the deal was with that. So now we got no Art. We got George Nori to listen to, except the problem with George Nori, his malapropisms, his verbal gaffes, his flubs, his constant habit of asking a question of a guest, and then the guest will say, well, George, I think this about that. And they said, oh, just a moment, I've got a commercial to go to, and we'll get back to this exciting subject when we come back from the commercial. Then he comes back from the commercial. Well, what about that? What do you think about ghosts or asteroids or chupacabras or werewolves or Dracula or the Wolfman or whatever the hell it is? But he never gets back to the comment and the issue at hand. And it totally derails the whole flow of the conversation. I'd rather listen to Art read a laundry list than listen to George Nori. And that's another thing. Nori wrote me emails and said, you are the guy from Pittsburgh, like I'm supposed to be some other guy from Pittsburgh. Because there are other guys from Pittsburgh, but I'm the guy from Pittsburgh. And Rory wrote me something else, and I'm going to not take him up on his offer because I have to be free to say what I got to say. And I haven't heard word one from him since Friday on it anyway, so I'm going to change my mind. Sorry, George, I ain't going to do it. I'll do what I got to do on my own. So I got my video camera. I'm going to be going out in the next few days, doing videos outside, so I'm not chained to this desk. So Nori doesn't have to complain about my background. There's a camera I just heard about, CBS was talking about. Little dinky teensy weensy camera, a little square camera, which would cost what this cost if it were new, $200, called a Go camera. And apparently the CBS newsmen use it, and the people are using it to do skateboard videos, surfing videos, and all skydiving videos. And apparently it works with the Mac, which this Sony Handycam doesn't. It's Windows only, which is irritating. But I got a program that gets around that. So Art, you blew it. Seriously blew it. And another thing. Where's the big mucky muck at Sirius who went to Art hat in hand and said, Art, please come to Sirius. We want you to have a show. We know you'll be a success. We'll promote the hell out of you. Where's this guy? He's like, he got abducted from Washington. A UFO flew over, picked him up, took him away. I don't know if they're out there anal probing him or he just disappeared. He went out for a sandwich. He got mugged in front of Lincoln Memorial. But he's nowhere to be heard, nowhere to be seen. Nobody's heard word one from him. And you get this boilerplate, well, we had Art Bell, we don't have Art Bell anymore, we're sorry we don't have Art Bell, we wish him success, and blah, blah, blah. I don't give a damn about their boilerplate. I wanted Art Bell, I paid for Art Bell. And if you guys couldn't put the content on right, then it's your fault. Art, you didn't handle it right, but neither did Sirius. And there's another thing. I want some attorney out there. We got a United States of America, 305 million people. There's got to be one attorney that can get together everybody who dropped their service at Sirius because of Art Bell leaving or because of the streaming content or both. Get a hold of BellGab. Get a hold of everybody that quit. And file a class action suit against these guys if Art, they wind up holding him in his non-compete clause, because I may not know much about the law, but I did take business law, and I went to law school once for a year and a half. And I know that you got a thing called an offer and acceptance in a contract. Sirius made the offer, Art Bell accepted it. But Sirius was obligated to provide streaming content. Art was obligated to provide a program. He did that. Sirius didn't. And when the customer signs up, they're paying to get the content. Not for half an hour, not for 5 minutes, not for a minute and a half, not to be interrupted, unable to provide the service, or 6 different error messages on the screen, or maybe 8 or 9, I don't remember how many were on BellGab, but they listed them. There's an implied thing there that when you pay for the service, you're supposed to get it. And we didn't. And thousands of us did, and hundreds of us didn't, depending on what you look at. So someone needs, if Art can't get back in the air, someone needs to sue it Sirius, put him on the spot, and have the publicity saying that you guys had the former #1 talk show man of the country, and you just kicked him down the road like a dog you'd kick out of your house. And one last thing, there's a way you can make yourself heard even better. Not just being a customer, not being a poor schlub who was listening to Art Bell on the radio for free, which a lot of guys did. Not being someone who was listening to the stream posted the next day on YouTube, which a lot of guys did. If you got a stock account, an IRA, 401k, go to your broker. Sirius runs for $3.75 a share. Go buy 5 or 10 shares, 4 shares, 1 share. You got TD Waterhouse at $9. You got Scott Trade at $7. You got the other guys, Capital One bought them up. Used before, they immediately jacked at 6, that typical Capital One. They can't give the little guy a break. But go buy some serious stock. And then raise hell as a stockholder, not just a customer, because they're listening more if you're a stockholder. And at the next annual meeting, if you're in Washington, D.C., or New York, or Delaware, wherever they hold it, they always hold it in these places that nobody can get to because they don't want a whole lot of people showing up. Unless it's Walmart or Berkshire Hathaway, then they got tons of people showing up. But I doubt if a whole lot of people show up at a Sirius XM annual meeting. But show up at the annual meeting and say, I listened to Art Bell and I didn't get Art Bell the way I was supposed to, and I quit getting your service. And they begged me. I tried to get a radio from them. I called up on a Friday, and I spent an hour with an absolute idiot. I think it was more like an hour and a half. He's added up all the figures, and he says, bear with me, bear with me. He said, bear with me about 18 times. He never did tell me how much a radio was. And they were having a special. I first got told it was 19 bucks. Then I got told it was 29 bucks. Well, I hung up on this clown because an hour and a half I got fed up. I'm sitting in the car roasting because we had the windows down. It was a hot evening. Next day I call up. I spend another hour on the phone. Ladies add up all the figures. This. Oh, it's 19 bucks for the radio. Then it's so much for this. Then it's tax. Then it's a monthly service fee. Then it's shipping. Then it's this. Then it's... What a 19 radio magically jumped to 52 bucks. Such a deal they had for you. A 20-buck radio goes to 52 bucks. What the hell is that? I tried to get on eBay. I had a guy in Forestville, paid him for the radio. 3 times he tells me, I shipped you the Sirius radio with the dock and everything, home radio. Never got the damn thing. Took a month to get my money back. But you got guys out there getting screwed by Sirius because they paid for a year. And they didn't get Art Bell. And when they canceled, what did Sirius do? Oh, we're sorry we didn't deliver you the content. We're sorry we screwed you over, Mr. Subscriber. Did they say, we'll give you your money back? Nah, they charge them 75 bucks to cancel. What the hell is that? That's penalizing you because they provided crappy service. And another thing, people are complaining they better refund my money. Well, I got my money. I gave them $14.95. I listened to the first month for free. And then within a few days when that ran out, it went to paying. And my bank account, they took it out. They gave me back $12.95. Well, here's the thing about that $12.95. They took a week to do it. Let's say they had 100,000 listeners paying $14.95. And they take a week to send that back, and they give everybody back $12.95. That means they're making $200,000 off you for that week. Plus, they're earning interest on it. They're not losing money on the deal in the short run. They're losing money in the long run because you got people who never go back to Sirius. They're that ticked. And a lot of guys just went on there because of Art Bell. I could have listened to Sinatra. I could have listened to some other stuff. And, you know, they even begged me when I tried to get the radio. They called me and said, will you please buy a radio from us? We got a special. And I said, look, I got so aggravated with you guys. I couldn't find out firsthand when to get a radio. Then I found out it's 52 bucks. That I don't even want to think about a radio right now. They talked to me for like 20 minutes. I couldn't get her off the phone. Kept practically begging me to get a radio. Now it was on Art Bell, when Art Bell was on. Now that he's gone, there's zip, bupkis. There's nothing from Sirius. And they send me emails. How do you like our customer service? Well, with that first guy, hour and a half, can't add, can't use an abacus or whatever they're using back there. My cat could add better than that guy could. Sending me a thing, we give you a special number to call to order a radio. I'm so ticked off, I never want to order a radio. I'm glad I didn't. But there's guys that spent $200 for Sirius. They bought a radio for $200. What are they going to do with the radio now? Use it as a paperweight in their car? So anyway, if you can, You can afford it. Buy some serious stock. Go to Belgab. Go look at the addresses for the chairman, the president, the guy that does their content, does their talent. Send them all emails, send them all snail mail, call them up and say, hey, we want back on the air, but only if you fix this streaming stuff. Because this has been a debacle for Art Bell listeners and for Sirius subscribers. They didn't treat Art Bell right. They didn't treat listeners right. They didn't treat subscribers right. And like the wrestling guys say, they should be saying, you're going down, Sirius. But unfortunately, they're still on the air. But we got pulled too if enough of us complain or raise a lot of hell about it. Even if Art never comes back on the air, you need to let the guys in the suits in Washington, New York, or wherever they are, hear you out and say, I didn't like what you did to me, and I paid money. And you know, when you pay money for a service, that's paying their salaries. And that's giving them more money to keep their service going. And you got every right to do that as a customer. All right, this is a guy from Pittsburgh. I think I'm done now with Art Bell leaving. I hope he finds a way to come back to the air. He'll be 70 in 2 years if he can't. And if I were Art, I would find a way to break that non-compete, because they didn't live up to their end of the bargain. They didn't deliver the service they were supposed to deliver. Don't sit there and Pahrump, oh, I signed the contract and I got to do the honorable or the ethical thing, because they weren't honorable and ethical to you. And I don't care what Bell Gabbers think. They think Art's giving them a line of BS. Art's not that kind of guy. I've been listening to him in 1990. He cared about this show. That's why he left, because he wasn't getting the best show he could have. And I know it was pissing him off. All right. It's a guy from Pittsburgh. I'll talk to you later. Have a great evening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.